Alright, Dark Angel here, and tonight I'm going to show you how to make one of my self-watering planters. Alright, now normally you would use 2 bottles, and I use the Pepsi, the Mountain Dew bottles, just because they've got a seam in them at the top and in the middle, above and below the label. That works really well for kind of sinking them together like so. Now normally I'd use 2, but I've already got a bottom, and for that bottom all you do is on the bottom seam here you just cut it all the way along that seam. Now what I'm gonna do, and essentially you could do the same thing for this, but for the second bottle you want to cut, and I'm using a razor blade, you want to cut the bottom off. Then essentially, there you go, almost done. But personally, I don't like it being all, unevenly cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a nice little bend, curve, some sort of line I can cut along to try to even out the planter the best that I can. And I'm just trying to get the light to shine off of it just right so I can see this line that I'm cutting on. And then it's not the most perfect cut, but it's a lot straighter than it was. Alright, so now practically done. The next step is to take some paper towels. You're just going to fold them up. And how many paper towels you need for this really depends on the thickness. These ones I'm using are kind of thin, so I'm using 3. Normally I just use 2, but these are really, really cheap ones. These are like the $1 paper towels. So after you fold them, you're going to very tightly roll it up. Try to keep it as tight as you possibly can. And in some cases you want to unroll it and re-roll it, so on and so forth. And then once you get it rolled up, you just kind of insert it into the end like that. Then all you do is you put the planter together and you're done. What you would then do is fill this portion up with dirt. You would then fill up the dirt. Well, you would then pour water into it until you reach the desired level in the bottom section. Now, it's very important that once you have the dirt in there, you do not put the water in the bottom for your first time. You want to pour the water in so that the water absorbs the dirt absorbs the water, so that it doesn't, when it does get watered, it makes it easier for the dirt to absorb the water when it's pre-moistened rather than when it's dry. It takes a lot longer for the dirt to acquire that moisture from the water. So then it doesn't hold the water, and your plants will essentially drown that way. The second reason you do that is because the very first time the water has to go through the paper towel and fill up the bottom, because if it doesn't, the water won't be absorbed and follow up the line and into the dirt. So basically what that does is once your wick, which is what the paper towel essentially is, becomes fully wet. Now you could probably wet it and put it in and so on and so forth, but in all honesty, it's easier to handle a dry paper towel than a wet paper towel when you're rolling it and trying to stick it in there. But if the paper towel hasn't been fully wet, then the soil in the above isn't going to absorb the water from the paper towel, which would then travel upstream up the wick. Otherwise, it just depends on gravity. It's just going to soak down, or so they say. Now that I'm thinking about it, you could probably do it the other way. It would just take longer. So again, fill up this top section with dirt after you've got it all assembled like this, and then add water and continue to add water until you reach the desired level of water in the bottom. And then after that, anytime you want to water it, you can simply pull it out, fill it up, put it back, or which is the way I do it. Or some people, from what I've understood, they'll just water it up the top and then eventually it'll just fill the bottom back up. I don't like that method. But that's one of my self-watering planters. And I usually, generally, I kind of use this one for like herbs and things like that, which I am working on growing. So that's another day with Dark Angel, and hope you enjoy my recycling plastic bottles and turning them into self-watering planters. Have a good day.